When we think of surrealism, names like Salvador Dalí, René Magritte, and André Breton often come to mind. But what about the women of surrealism? These artists didn't just contribute to the movement, they redefined it, pushing boundaries around identity, sexuality, and creativity. Women were a central figure in surrealist art, often cast in stereotypical roles such as mysterious creatures, desired muses, goddesses, she-devils, dolls, and fetishes. Male surrealist artists like René Magritte, Salvador Dalí, Max Ernst, and Hans Bellmer frequently portrayed women in idealized, fragmented, or grotesque forms, blending fear with erotic desire. Though the surrealist movement claimed to embrace freedom and subversion, its objectified depictions of women reveal a strong connection to Freudian psychoanalysis, particularly through the lens of the male gaze. These works explored sexuality and the unconscious mind, but they were also shaped by the patriarchal norms of the time. Freud's theories on hysteria and primal impulses, deeply rooted in cultural misogyny, left a lasting impact on the movement. He believed that unconscious drives, especially those tied to sex and aggression, were the hidden forces behind human behavior. In his 1934 essay, The New Colors of Spectral Sex Appeal, Salvador Dalí predicted that the allure of modern women would arise from the disarticulation and distortion of their anatomy. He suggested that new and unsettling anatomical features would exaggerate areas like the breasts, buttocks, and heels, creating a paradoxical effect, simultaneously vibrant and ghostly. These images of women, though designed to evoke desire, often overlooked their capacity as creators. In Hans Bellmer's unsettling doll series, women were reduced to fragmented, manipulated objects that were provocative but presented as voiceless subjects of male control. Yet, amidst this backdrop, a group of bold women artists emerged, challenging these restrictive norms. One of the most iconic examples is Meret Oppenheim's Object, a fur-covered teacup, saucer, and spoon. The idea for this piece came during a lunch with Pablo Picasso and Dora Maar. When Picasso, after admiring Oppenheim's fur bracelet, jokingly said that anything could be covered in fur, Oppenheim bought a white teacup, saucer, and spoon and wrapped them in the fur of a Chinese gazelle and titled the work Object, transforming a delicate object associated with feminine refinement and decorum into something strange and unsettling. This work exemplifies the idea promoted by the surrealist leader André Breton that ordinary things presented in unexpected ways could challenge reason and tap into deep layers of the mind. After André Breton laid the philosophical foundation for surrealism and began publishing a series of surrealist manifestos in 1924, women gradually formed close connections with the movement's leading writers and artists. Initially seen as muses, models, lovers, and companions, they eventually evolved into active participants. By the 1930s, women within surrealist circles began to question their roles and reflections, seeking to establish a unique sense of female and artistic identity. Many of the most well-known women in surrealism became involved with the movement through personal relationships. Meret Oppenheim and Lee Miller both collaborated with Man Ray while developing their own distinct surrealist works. Leonora Carrington and Dorothea Tanning became connected to the movement through Max Ernst, while Remedios Varo was linked to the surrealist poet Benjamin Perret. These women were often younger than their male counterparts and initially influenced by them. However, they gained independence and went on to create some of their most important works in the 1940s and 50s. Though the surrealist group continued exhibiting until the 1960s, many art historians believe the movement ended after World War II. This view has led to the underappreciation of female surrealists who thrived after surrealism's golden age. I didn't have time to be anyone's muse. I was too busy rebelling and learning to be an artist, stated Leonora Carrington. Carrington was a rebellious spirit, expelled from school twice, born into a wealthy family. Her parents wanted her to become a debutante, but she ran away to Paris, where she embraced surrealism and developed a deep interest in the occult, myth, and witchcraft. Shortly after fleeing England and starting her affair with Max Ernst, Carrington painted this work, reflecting her rebellious spirit and rejection of her Catholic upbringing. She called her father Lord Candlestick and portrayed him on the left without a mouth, symbolizing his inability to now criticize her. Carrington transforms the Eucharist into a chaotic scene where gluttonous women feast on a male infant laid on a table, a nod to the one in her family's home. By reversing traditional symbols of motherhood and religion, Carrington boldly expresses her pursuit of personal freedom in France. Unlike many male surrealists, Carrington was not strongly influenced by Freud. Her art is highly personal, blending myth, magic, and her own life experiences. In her painting Self-Portrait, The Inn of the Dawn Horse, she presents herself as a wild, confident figure wearing androgynous riding clothes, surrounded by symbols of transformation like a hyena, which imitates Carrington's posture and gesture, a white rocking horse, perhaps a nod to the fairy tales of her early childhood, and an open window symbolizing escape into the surreal. Carrington had been raised in an aristocratic household in the English countryside and often fought against the rigidity of her education and upbringing. Carrington believed the world was primarily visual and resisted intellectualizing it. Her work, grounded in magical realism and alchemy, often reflects her struggles with mental illness and the effects of shock therapy, incorporating deep autobiographical and symbolic layers. Her fascination with animals, myth, and symbolism deepened after she settled in Mexico and forged a close friendship with fellow surrealist painter Remedios Varo, who was a Spanish-Mexican surrealist known for her dreamlike, fantastical paintings that blend science, magic, and the subconscious mind. Born in Spain, she honed her meticulous drawing skills while studying art in Madrid, a precision that would become a signature in her work. After fleeing to Paris during the Spanish Civil War, she joined the Surrealist Circle. Later, during World War II, she escaped Nazi-occupied France and settled in Mexico, where she created her most iconic pieces. Varo's paintings, like The Creation of the Birds, are filled with intricate detail and magical realism. Her work often features mystical figures, usually women, engaged in transformative acts like alchemy and creation. She explored themes of feminine empowerment, spirituality, and inner transformation, drawing influences from psychology, mysticism, and even science fiction. Her art takes us into a world where reality and fantasy seamlessly blend. Although her style shares some similarities with the work of Giorgio de Chirico, Varo's vision is distinct, especially in her portrayal of inner spiritual worlds. And while her art doesn't directly reflect Mexican traditions, the country's mystical landscape had a profound impact on her and other surrealists, where the boundaries between reality and the fantastic often seemed to blur. Argentinian-born painter Leonor Fini was a largely self-taught artist whose bold, provocative style and vibrant personality quickly made her a standout in the Parisian art scene. She challenged traditional gender roles, portraying women with an unprecedented sense of sexual power and agency, while often depicting men as passive. Her strong female figures, frequently mystical and hybrid beings, combine human and mythological elements, exuding confidence and control. These women, with their unwavering gaze, often protect and guide the men in her works, reversing typical dynamics. Beyond her paintings, Fini was also a prolific stage and costume designer for opera, ballet, theater, and film, while curating her own exhibitions throughout her career. Dorothea Tanning, a key figure in Surrealism, drew inspiration from the fantastical stories and imagery of Gothic and Romantic novels. She used her art to delve into vivid and unsettling dream worlds. In her painting Birthday, Tanning portrays herself undergoing a transformation, part human, part hybrid, standing in a surreal interior with mysterious doors and a strange creature at her feet. This work reflects her personal journey of self-discovery and offers a glimpse into her inner psyche. In Ein kleine Nachtmusik, Tanning presents a haunting, dreamlike scene of young girls in a nightmarish setting. Their disheveled appearances hint at the loss of innocence or the eerie transition from childhood to adulthood. Blending whimsy with the grotesque, Tanning captures themes of childhood, femininity, and transformation. The strange domestic space adds tension between comfort and the unknown, inviting the viewer to question what lies beneath the surface. It was common for surrealist artists to engage in political themes, and for women in the movement, photography often became a powerful tool for social critique. Dora Maar's work reflected on contemporary issues, challenging traditional ideas of the modern woman. As a street photographer, she frequently captured the hardships faced by those impacted by the Great Depression. French artist Claude Cahun also defied gender norms with her self-portraits exploring androgyny and fluid identity. Her photography questioned the male gaze in surrealism, offering a playful yet subversive take on femininity. Photography gave women surrealists the freedom to distort and challenge reality through techniques like retouching, montages, and extreme exposures. Czech artist Emila Medkova, a key member of the post-war surrealist group, used her work to explore the irrationality of the urban environment, creating metaphors for the struggles of post-war Central Europe. While often associated with Mexican folk art, Frida Kahlo's work has also been linked to surrealism. Kahlo herself rejected the label, famously saying, "I never painted dreams, I painted my own reality." Nonetheless, her symbolic self-portraits, such as the two Fridas, use surrealist techniques to convey her inner struggles and emotions, weaving together her personal experiences of pain, love, and identity. Kahlo's exploration of duality, fractured identities, and her bold depictions of the female body resonate with surrealist ideals, yet her work stands apart for its raw emotional power and connection to real-life trauma. The women of surrealism were in search of a new female identity. While male surrealists often focused on their desires and egos, female surrealists developed their own visual language, reinterpreting symbols and forms. They sought recognition as artists in their own right, not merely as women or muses. Their work, filled with layers of complexity and self-exploration, expanded the movement's scope and longevity. These women were more than just participants. They were visionaries. By bringing their unique perspectives to surrealism, they reshaped the movement and left a lasting legacy that deserves recognition. Today, as we continue to explore the depths of the subconscious, their works remind us that the pursuit of freedom in art must include the voices of all who seek it.